This is a Toyota HiLux GR Sport, and it's the off-road enhanced version and the most expensive variant of Australia's best-selling dual cab ute. And throughout the video, I'm going to guide you through everything you need to know, talk about what I think needs to be improved, and some of the great things about the HiLux. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell if you are new to the channel. And let's get straight into the review. First, what is there to know before walking into a showroom? The HiLux GR Sport has a price tag from $74,000, competing with the likes of the Ford Ranger Tremor, the Isuzu D-Max Blade, and some could argue that this is a competitor to the Ford Ranger Raptor, but I think that is more performance focused, whereas the GR Sport is an off-road enhanced version of the Rogue specification. And on your screen is a quick breakdown on the HiLux 4x4 dual cab range. And moving on to configuration, the GR Sport is available with a decent selection of colours to pick from. And in terms of ownership, warranty, servicing, running costs, everything you need to know has been listed on your screen. Okay, let's talk about the styling. The GR Sport does sit on a wider track and a raised suspension height, and you do get some visual enhancements like the black grille, the Toyota badging spelt out, the GR logo. But what about off-road enhancements? Well, you get a skid plate, and there are also 2 recovery points which are not rated. However, there are 2 red recovery points at the back which are rated, and very bright full automatic LED lighting, and along with LED fog lights. Moving on to the side view, the GR Sport sits on a set of Dakar-style black 17-inch wheels that are wrapped around in Bridgestone all-terrain tyres, and you also get these off-road enhanced KYB shock absorbers, red painted springs, and there are also front and rear disc brakes and these red painted calipers, and also some other visual enhancements like the black door handles, mirror caps, HiLux badging, privacy glass from B-pillar to the back, the pumped out plastic body cladding, and instead of plastic side steps, you get these metal rock sliders, which are much more durable if you are going to go off-road. And moving on to the rear design, at the back, partial LED taillights and blacked out badging and a GR badge over by the right hand side, and as well as these unique plastic step-up bars with gloss black inserts. And looking down the bottom, your tow bar setup, a full-size spare wheel, but it is worth keeping in mind that the GR Sport's payload has dropped from 940 to 780 kilograms, but the GR Sport does retain leaf springs at the back, which means you can still use this as a work ute. And although this current generation HiLux has been on sale for over 10 years, I still think it looks fantastic, especially combined with all of the off-road enhancements. But as always, styling is subjective, so write down your opinion in the comments below. Okay, the interior inside the GR HiLux, what is it like? And what has changed? Well, nothing since the HiLux went on sale back in 2015. And the short version is, it is never going to be as premium as a Ford Ranger, nor as high-tech as a BYD Shark 6. But that seems to upset a lot of the HiLux owners, so to tell you in another way, it does also feel pretty cheap. On the top section, hard and durable plastics over on the top door panels, and looking on the bottom section, this glove box lid also feels hard and durable, and that plastic extends over in the center section. You get piano black, which does show up dust, and piano black on the door panel. But the door slam does feel pretty durable, and you get soft padding where you rest your elbow and over in the center section. But of course, being the GR Sport, you get some special highlights, such as this trim up the top here, which again is plastic, and that also extends onto the door panels, along with this rally-inspired leather-wrapped steering wheel that feels nice to grip onto, and that also entails paddle shifters, red highlights, and a GR logo. There are also GR floor mats, pedals, and these special GR Sport seats, which are pretty comfortable, and on the headrests, a GR logo, red seat belts, which I think look pretty cool. The passenger side gets manual adjustment, whilst the driver gets electric adjustment, but no lumbar. The front row seats can also be heated, and you get a manual tilt and reach steering column. And finally, dual zone climate control with physical dials and buttons. And this 8-inch touchscreen is pretty basic, but you do get physical buttons, dials, buttons on the steering wheel, along with voice recognition, and that also integrates with Siri's voice control. And you also get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are both wired, and that is what it looks like on the screen. And if I go into here, inbuilt satellite navigation, and next going into audio, source, AM, FM, DAB, USB, Bluetooth, Miracast, and you also get a 9-speaker JBL sound system, which sounds pretty decent, but the speaker location does look a bit awkward over on that top section. And if I flick it into reverse, a surround view camera system with parking guidelines and 2 different views to pick from, but the picture quality does look a bit poor. And over on the right hand side, a button to change between a forward facing view and your gutter angles. There are also front and rear parking sensors, a rear cross traffic alert, an auto dimming rear vision mirror, pre-collision warning, blind spot monitoring, a lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front, and over on that 4.2-inch screen, traffic sign recognition. And although the screen is pretty basic, it does show you all of your vital information, and you can change between the menus depending on what you want to see. And on this GR Sport, the cluster does look a lot more special because you get these red needles, grey highlights, and down here, an integrated trailer brake controller, and your four-wheel drive selector switch between rear-wheel drive for on-road driving and four-wheel drive high and low range for off-road driving. This button is your hill descent control, and this button, your locking rear differential, and drive modes between eco and power. And over on the right-hand side, an auto-up switch, and storage is also pretty good. You get 2 glove box setups over here, and that also fits the owner's manual, and along with pop-out cup holders on both sides of the dashboard. The door bins are quite small, but they can still hold a big water bottle. And over in the center section, 2 cup holders that can only fit 2 coffee cups, a wireless phone charging pad, 2 12-volt sockets and a USB-A port, and a little bit of storage over in the center. The center console also goes down pretty deep, and you'll find an AC power socket. There are no lights behind the sun visors, but you do get 1 mirror, a sunglasses holder over on the top section, and thanks to those rock rails, climbing in and out is pretty tricky, but you do get a remote key, keyless entry, and push button ignition. Here in the back with this seat set in my position, knee room is pretty good, toe room is okay, a little bit tight, but headroom is just okay as well. But just keep in mind that the HiLux is narrow, so fitting 3 people in the back might be a bit of a squeeze, and despite the fact that you have a low transmission tunnel, knee room and toe room is a bit tight, but headroom is okay in the middle. And if we have a look around, map pockets, shopping bag hooks, air vents over in the centre, along with 2 USB-C charging ports. The door bins are quite small, but they can still hold a big water bottle. There are grab handles up the top here to allow easier access into the back. Coat hangers behind me, and a flip down armrest with 2 small cup holders. And you can also lift up the bottom base of the seats to reveal additional storage, and 2 cutaway sections to keep valuables hidden. And that is also the location for the toolkit. And what about child seats? On these 2 outboard seats, 2 ISOFIX points, and behind me, 2 top tether points. Let's now talk about the tub. Firstly, gas struts to make the tailgate easy to lift up and down, and a total of 4 tie-down points to keep items in place. And specific to the GR Sport, this tub liner, and that is also badged over here as well. And looking at the tub size, it isn't as deep as a Ford Ranger Wildtrak, nor as spacious as some of the other competitors, but the size itself isn't small, and for all the key dimensions, everything you need to know has been listed on your screen. And just keep in mind, if you want to fit on a hard lid, a roller shutter, that is a cost option as an accessory, so you can fit that if that matters to you. The HiLux GR Sport is powered by a 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbodiesel engine, which is the same powertrain found across the range, but you get 10% more power, 165 kilowatts and 550 Nm of torque, and a retuned version of the HiLux's 6-speed auto. And as I said before, payload has dropped, but the HiLux GR Sport does get a braked towing capacity of 3,500 kilograms. And we are also going to go off-road after the driving impressions, so on your screen are all the key angles, front and rear departure angles. But first, how does this perform going from 0 to 100? Okay, the driving impressions behind the wheel inside the HiLux GR Sport. Over the bonnet, decent forward visibility. There's also good side vision, decent size wing mirrors, and at the back, rear visibility is also pretty good. The camera system does look outdated, and the HiLux does feel traditional to drive. For example, you get a hydraulic steering setup, so compared to an electric system in a Ford Ranger and a Mitsubishi Triton, the steering feel is quite heavy, and you also have a 13-meter turning circle radius, which means around a tight street you will need to perform a couple of more U-turns, but generally speaking it does ride pretty well. Combined with that wider track like what you get on the Rogue, the KYB shock absorbers do make it a bit more refined, but over really bad bumps it does take a bit of time to settle. Over really bad potholes there is a bit of diesel groan coming into the cabin. It is a groany engine, but it isn't as bad as an Isuzu D-Max, but when you do build up speed on the motorway past 100 kilometers, you will come across a lot of wind noise coming into the cabin. Don't forget, this does sit up a little bit higher, so there's got to be a compromise somewhere. You do get front and rear disc brakes like on the Rogue, so stopping ability is pretty good for a dual cab ute. The gearbox has also been retuned, and it does feel much more powerful behind the wheel, but it isn't a Ford Ranger Raptor rival. This has been built specifically to go off-road, and it's a sporty off-road version of the HiLux. To put it into context, it is not a V6 petrol-powered Ford Ranger Raptor rival, just to make that clear. And what about driver assistance? There are no annoying beeps and bongs because you don't get a driver fatigue monitoring system, so it is a good thing. This is an older platform. You do get adaptive cruise control that works fine on the freeway, but the lane centering system is a bit clunky to use because, as I said before, this uses a hydraulic system instead of an electric system, which means it'll use its brakes to keep itself within the lane, and that can come across a bit uncomfortable to use, so I always just press that button to turn it off at every ignition cycle. And what about efficiency? The official number from Toyota is 8.1 litres per 100. Driving around the city, you'll see figures between 10 to 11 litres per 100. Right now, driving around town, it is showing 10.4 litres, and on the freeway, I did drop that down below 9 litres per 100. And for reference, a diesel-powered 4-cylinder Ranger will get between 8 to 10 litres per 100, and a V6 version between 9 to 12 litres depending on how you drive it. And of course a Raptor, well, that is a totally different car, but that will get between 15 to 20 litres per 100. And also keep in mind there is a diesel powered mild hybrid version of the HiLux available in SR, SR5 and Rogue, and also available in the new Prado, the same powertrain. Yes, it isn't going to blow you away or grab you behind the wheel, but I still think hybrid systems in Toyotas are the best. They are proven to be very reliable, efficient, and of course they hold their value much better compared to any other hybrids on the market. But let me know your opinion on that. Do you own a hybrid HiLux? Have you lived with one? Has it been reliable? And have you enjoyed it? Let me know your feedback down below. Okay, time for some off-road driving. We're going to work our way up through the part-time four-wheel drive system from 4 high, 4 low, and 4 low with the rear diff lock engaged. So first, put it into 4 high. Now in four-wheel drive high range, you do need to accelerate a little bit harder, around 2,000 RPM, maybe 2,500 RPM. That is pretty impressive. The wider track does help, and the all-terrain tyres, and when you do get more experience, you work out how a four-wheel drive performs and you just get better at it. So let's now go back around and also talk about how this feels off-road. So like I said, you have the off-road specific KYB shock absorbers, which do help with refinement off-road because it is bouncy but quite comfortable, especially in these seats. Okay, round 2, we're going to go back up the hill. but this time put it into 4 low. Make sure that's engaged. Yep. Without the rear diff lock, that'll be the next go. There is one thing I wish this car had, because the HiLux does have a wide turning circle, is a turn assist function. And that is something you do get on a Canon XSR and some of the Ford Ranger models. But apart from that, it's doing pretty well off-road. So 4-wheel drive, low range. Now the difference using 4 low, you can go up a hill a little bit slower, because in 4-wheel drive high range, I really had to roll back and push the car up. The HiLux is pretty capable in 4 high, but if it's really steep and you don't want to puncture your expensive all-terrain tyres and damage anything else, 4-wheel drive low range, slow and steady, I think is the way to go. And now let's try 4-wheel drive low range with the rear diff lock engaged. So it's in 4 low now, rear diff lock, and let's see how this performs. So sitting below 2000 RPM, now 2500 RPM. Yeah, it does work a lot better. And so far, this is the best off-road car that I have driven, aside from the Patrol, but comparing it to some of the GWM products, some of the more affordable rivals, yeah, the HiLux is still pretty good off-road. It is still dependable. It probably would perform better with a front diff lock, and some of the other competitors do come with a front differential lock, even the cheaper Chinese brands. But the important component is the rear differential lock, and the rest all does come down to the driver, because when I drove the Canon XSR, I thought, wow, front and rear diff locks, I'm going to use both of them. After going around a couple of times, learning how the car responds, I managed to go up that hill not using the front differential lock, just the rear diff lock. So yeah, it does come down to the driver, what kind of tyres you have fitted and what kind of car it is with the unique traction control. I'm now going down a steep hill. It is muddy and there is a bit of an apex. So what I'm going to do, engage hill descent control, make sure that is engaged. I've got it in 4 high. So basically this is an off-road cruise control which is suitable for going down hills. It does work on a level surface, but it is particularly useful going down a hill like this where it is muddy and you can run the risk of locking your front wheels and going off the edge. And many other dual cab utes have hill descent control, even a Subaru Forester, but what I found in this compared to anything else that I have driven, it is very smooth. You don't hear the mechanical components making any noise. The traction control isn't biting. The ABS is working as it should. So it is a pretty well sorted system. And so far this is the best off-road car that I have taken on this track. The HiLux GR Sport is one of the most off-road capable, hardcore and expensive HiLuxes that you can purchase. But the downsides are, it is a 10-year-old car, well, literally a 20-year-old platform with an outdated interior and a high price tag. So tell me, would you pick this over another competitor? Let me know what you would do, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.